We're in the arty neighborhood of Auckland Park, talking psychology with a very creative Vincent Truter, a graduate of Rhodes University, journalism I presume, but also a man who did his master's in Japanese dance. Before we get on to the subject of psychology, Japanese dance, is this Volksspieler? Or is this ballet? Or was it, what was the attraction about Japanese dance, and how did they actually allow you to do your thesis in it?
David, hello. I think I've got to do a little lead into that because you're dropping people in the deep end. But, you know, I studied at Rhodes and I did the journalism degree, a very inspirational, multidisciplinary degree. And after that, I became involved in children's television. And I worked on a team that created Tube on SABC2, which was a motion capture animated children's channel, which means that an actor got into a suit and his movements would animate the characters. It sounds very high-tech, but we were doing it in South Africa at the time. And
so he's behind the scenes?
He's behind the scenes in a suit, like in the movies, and his movement is animating the character. And I got very interested in the body and the body's ability to express. And when I had the opportunity to kind of think broader about what the next step would be, I thought that I really wanted to look at the body in the performing arts. And during my initial degree, I was introduced to this Buto dance, which is an incredibly beautiful, very aesthetic and visual performing art that's performed, I guess it looks very slow to the naked eye, and it's principally performed by performers who are painted white. And I thought that's fascinating. And so I got myself...
This is traditional dance, it's not, or is it avant-garde dance? What is
David,
it?
it's the first tradition-breaking dance in Japan, and it originated after the Second World War. And it was an attempt by the Japanese avant-garde to really engage the primacy of their body in expression. And they managed to do this in a very subversive way. I mean, if you look at it, it looks quite disturbing. It often pays homage to quite extreme, quite painful expressions in the body. And I think it's a thing of great beauty. And about 3 years ago, I stopped working for a year and I choreographed and performed again. Yeah, I did before I started.
Japanese dance, or?
Yeah, Japanese dance. I stopped
in South Africa?
Yes, I stopped my day job. And I took my capital and
Can you dance? I mean, can you actually dance?
Well, I can. I mean, you don't necessarily want to see it, David, but I can dance. Do you want me to do an improvisational dance now?
But that wasn't the only unusual degree you've done.
No,
I mean,
true.
We're getting on to psychology soon, but
no,
I mean,
of course.
Well, your other degree.
This was in Museum Exhibition Development and Design, or Design for Narrative
these
Environments.
Are esoteric degrees. I'm not sure you can make money out of them, but nevertheless.
Well, I did make a small fortune out of Museum Exhibition Development and Design. I worked on Constitution Hill, Lilies Leaf Farm, and
those your designs.
Well, I worked in teams that did exhibition design on those projects, and I was interested in exhibition design because this was an extension for me of the idea that was embedded in the dance, that you would take the body and put it in an environment, and you would use the environment in various modes to communicate to them and give them an experience. And at the time, these symbolic reparation projects, which these museum projects really were so exciting. You know, we were rewriting history. Yeah. And I'm so thankful for the amazing projects I was involved in.
Are you still involved in that side? Is that still a part of your business?
You know, I think not part of my day-to-day business, because as you can see, David, I'm one of those kind of mercurial individuals that is driven by passion and moves on to things from gut instinct. So I'm not directly involved in the museum exhibition industry, but this space that we're in right now is a kind of homage to that. I built a little gallery space here.
This is your psychology, and this is not the PSY, this is a CYC-ology.
Yes.
Explain your psychology. Explain the passion behind psychology. We're surrounded by a lot of bikes here. You know,
I always feel a bit like a broken record when I talk about psychology, David, because it's a very simple story. I was consulting and working in the communication industry, creating desire in people for things they don't need. Right, that was my job, and I was making nice money in advertising. And this guy came to me and said, don't you want to market the electric bikes? I said, go to Cape Town. You know, what are we going to do with e-bikes in Joburg? And the story goes, and I always tell it, my car was stolen, and he left a bike in the foyer of the company I was working with, and I had to go to Woolies for lunch, and I jumped on the bike.
In Johannesburg?
In Johannesburg.
That's your life's in your own hand if you do something like that.
Look, it was profound, and there was really in my connection with the city amazing shifts from that, because I realized we're constantly going from enclave to enclave, from air-conditioned environment to high-gated community to mall, and the bike enabled me to engage the physical reality of Johannesburg. It made me feel somehow slightly more connected. I call it relational sensitivity. And I felt in the beginning, you know, what do I know about bikes, David? Do I look like a bike kind of person? Can I fix a puncture? You know? But I saw the bikes was as a tool to maybe engage people in shaping public space, in really looking at the unsustainable nature of how we get from A to B at this point in time. Such a one-sided, unsustainable way. You know, such a small margin of people with cars that take up so much space, create so much pollution, cause so much congestion, and it just mushroomed from there. So in a way, I'm a glorified bicycle salesman, sure, but on the back of that, what started happening is really the evolution of a movement towards introducing green mobility solutions in South Africa. And I'm passionate about it. I don't know how exactly I'm going to get that right, but I'm stepping one step at a time.
It works in Manhattan. They've started this project where if you go to Manhattan, I suppose it's all over America, I'm only exposed to it in America, where you go, you can rent a bike, I don't know, obviously you sign up beforehand, you put your credit card in, you take it, you ride down the road and you drop it at another end. Can that work in South Africa where there's high crime rates, the roads are awful, the drivers are even worse?
No,
can we create safe zones where you can actually do that?
I can't even begin to explain the exciting work that's happening. You know, we tend to look at local government with kind of cynical eyes, you know. We scream every time we hit a pothole, but we never say thank you when our toilet flushes. And I must say, what the city and what the local government and the people from the Johannesburg Roads Agency has been able to achieve in terms of doing the feasibility studies and getting cycling on the agenda has been extraordinary. I mean, Mayor Parkstown in his State of City address a little while ago said, Johannesburg is becoming a progressive cycling city. And you'll see that all the infrastructure planning has been done. The bike lanes are coming. You know, we're looking at like, I think an 18-month to 3-year window for you to see proper lanes up. The one between UJ and Wits is already up. There's one in Orlando, 16 kilometers past 9 schools and the stadium. So the efforts from the city to develop the infrastructure that's going to make you feel less like you're taking your life in your own hands is happening. That's one component of it. But where I saw the gap was, you know, there's a if we build it, they will come mentality. And I don't think that's how it's going to work. Most South Africans and Africans really aspire to having cars. And this, I don't know who got that right, but advertisers got that right. And it's linked to the human ego, and it's linked to development, and it's linked to aspiration. And our job is going to be to change that perception. So our thinking was, cool, what about we target Sandton? What about we look at the corporate community? What about we look at accomplished CEO level people? And what we do is we get them to engage a bicycle share scheme, which we're currently piloting in the area. And we get corporate South Africa
these would be pedal bikes, they wouldn't be the electric bikes.
They're the electric bikes, because who wants to arrive at their meeting sweaty?
I was going to ask that question.
Quite frankly, you know, Jeremy Grist from Ernst & Young, who's one of our partners in the project, we don't want him to get there sweaty, you know.
You come with a suntan though.
Which is healthy, come on. Work and get a tan. Who wouldn't be interested, David? So we're piloting it, and we've got a lot of interest from the property developers. We've got the Green Building Council supporting us, and we started this NGO movement called Decongest. And now it's Decongest Sandton, then it's Decongest Cape Town, then it's Decongest Tshwane, and this thing is growing very rapidly.
No, I think it's marvelous. I just hope that it does take off. You know, I'm a cyclist. I was a cyclist. Today I run simply because I don't trust the road. But I mean, when I was a kid, when I grew up in Greenside, which is not too far from here, we used to ride I was at Emerentia Primary School. I rode to Roosevelt High School. We used to ride on our bike. Those were the rallies. You remember a rally bike and that? And you were very careful about which.
Like a 12-speed racing bike.
No, they weren't that sophisticated.
Oh my goodness.
Vincent, what other projects? What other green projects are you involved in at the moment?
So obviously,
this is a shop surrounded by design.
Yes.
So your creative talents go beyond bicycles.
No, certainly. This little space window that we created is halfway between a shop front window and an exhibition space. And what I do in here is really fun and creative collaborations. I invite multidisciplinary creative individuals, from a furniture designer to a fashion designer to a product designer. And what I do is I take their car keys and I give them an electric bike. And I give them a challenge to ride the bike for 1 month as their main mode of transport. Once they're completed with that, they can use the gallery to exhibit anything that might have come from the inspiration from that period. So we've had extraordinary collaborations in here, everything from exquisite furniture design by Tonic Design, inspired by the beauty of the urban cycle commute, right through to wonderful fashion lines by Black Coffee, who's a really celebrated local fashion brand, inspired by the electric bicycles. And what we're doing with that is that, there's method to my madness. I'm not just like wasting my money and my time. Is we're creating a lifestyle desire for the cycling. We always knew we were going to have to create a category, and we would have to really, seduce people into it.
You're allowing that on. Vincent,
yes.
We're going to have to cut this thing.
Okay, but we can talk for hours.
I know, it's gone so fast. It really has been. I didn't think we'd be able to get through that. I'll be able to talk about 15 minutes about bicycles, but there is one thing I'm going to do.
What are we going to do?
I'm going to give you my keys. This is my mini keys. It's parked outside. And you can drive my mini. For 1 month, I'm going to take an electric bicycle.
It's a deal. Pass me the key.